Hello and welcome to part 2 of my Walking Dead series. Now this is the limited edition hardback that came with my Kickstarter pledge. It's an absolutely lovely version of the core rulebook. So as you can see, you've got this black indented printed area with this lovely rich red sort of cloth hardback cover. But apart from that, this is identical to the retail copy of the rulebook. It basically gives you a little bit more than the starter set, so you've got expanded explanations of things, a little bit of extra content, lots of tables. So let's have a look inside. So as per the retail copy, you get a lovely map of northeast Georgia to base a campaign around Atlanta. So that's really nice. Really nice colours and everything. Then, credit page, gotta like that. Table of contents. And then we get into the actual rulebook itself. So the intro is similar to the starter set, just a little bit expanded, I think. I think you get a couple of extra words and pages here and there. The artwork's magnificent. And it's a really good introduction, not just to The Walking Dead, but also to role-playing games in general. So got a bit here about The Walking Dead and player characters and how to play the game. And yeah, it's really good explanation. It does talk about the two modes of play they're envisioning. So you've got the campaign mode and then the survival mode, which will often be based around a concept from the TV show. And I think this game is mostly focused on the TV rather than the comics. But it'd be interesting to see how much of the comics comes into this game compared to what was on the television production of the universe. So again, we get the principles of the game, which is in the starter set, and then a whole load of other stuff telling you about how the game works. And the principles of the game really describe the design philosophy. And here, I'm just pointing out the roll high and roll low feature, which is basically rolling with advantage and disadvantage. It's just awkwardly named, in my opinion. So chapter 2 is sort of background lore stuff, really, much more expansive compared to the starter set. And then we get into chapter 3, which is all about player characters and how to make them. So you've got your name, your anchor, you've got your issue, you've got your drive, you've got your attributes, you've got your skills, you've got a bit about scars. And don't forget, with this, the attributes and skills determine how big your D6 dice pool is to try and roll a success, basically rolling a 6 on your D6. So there's a whole load of stuff in here which will be very familiar from part 1. Talks about talents and health points, and reading the rules, getting broken is really bad, so try and avoid that, and obviously try and not get stressed. So your anchor will help you deal with your stress, but if you fail you could get a breaking point, which means you could roll for overwhelmed and become shattered, lose your drive, all sorts of bad things could happen. So watch out for that. So it does talk a little bit about gear here, but that gets covered later on as well. Experience, including this lovely dearly departed monologue option, and then relations. And what we get here is a lovely table for randomly generating people, and a bit about havens, which I think is in the starter set. But then all this stuff's new. I think it's about 12 archetypes. And as you can see, you've got a key attribute, a key skill, and then the key bit of all is talents. That's unique to each archetype. But all the stuff underneath here, issue, drive, gear, relationships, and all that stuff, that's sort of a little bit interchangeable. The gear probably is the thing that ties most closely to the archetypes. But if you want to use, for example, the Doctor's issues and drives with a different archetype, that's fine. But the gear is sort of more tied to the Doctor. But the key thing is the talents here. That talent belongs to that Doctor. Everything else, sort of, you can mix it around. So as I said, I think there's 12 of them. And then we get to skills and talents, with the soldier being the last of those archetypes. So skills and talents, how do they work? What do you do if you want to push a roll? Why do you want to push a roll? Getting stress dice. What happens if you fail? Roll a 1 effectively. How can you help each other out? Do stuff simultaneously. Percentage chance. All this, again, it is covered in the starter set, so this isn't quite so new. But obviously, with this being an expanded book, you you can potentially get a lot more description. Now, talents I don't remember being covered quite so comprehensively in the starter set, so that's definitely something that's really useful about this book. Lots of talents in here. As I say, the starter set just covers, I think, the pre-gens, not every single archetype. Combat and healing, this is the weakest part of Mutant Year Zero for me, and also this game. So you've got the duels for one-on-one combat, brawls for, you know, mass battle or more than two people effectively, and then the third type of combat, obviously the zombies. But yeah, brawls, much more your sort of traditional phased sort of combat. Interesting little thing here, it talks about recovery. You automatically heal 1 point a day as long as you eat. If you don't eat, no healing for you. What happens if you get broken? First aid, armor, you know, again, not that different from the starter set, and this horrible table, which if you roll a 63 or more, you're basically insta death. Now, if you think that's looking pretty grim, it gets worse. You've got other hazards. So, you know, you've got to deal with explosions, you've got to deal with fire and poison, and, you know, disease, getting tired. All these things can grind you down. Gear maybe will help you, but gear can wear out. That's not fun for you. Vehicles, don't really recall these being covered quite so much in the starter set, so that's another little bonus for this book. And then, of course, the Fighting the Dead. And again, this seems very familiar from the starter set with that horrible D66 table. Then chapter 6, this bit is really useful. This is about creating a haven or your base of operation. Lots of good stuff in here, including random generation tables and, you know, how much food you got, how good your defense is. And again, this bit here looks similar to what I think was in the starter set. So I reckon you've got 6-7 extra pages on havens, and then of course the fun doesn't stop there. You've also got going out from your haven, going on runs to get food and stuff. So yeah, NPCs can also go out as well. Then we get into sort of the GM section really. So how are you going to run the game? And there's lots of cool stuff here. So core concepts, preparing your campaign, setting up factions and other havens. Lots of really good stuff in here to inspire you and make your own unique version of the game. How to run sessions and scenes, challenges, travel, lots of random tables for weather and NPCs, wild animals, bringing it all together, making it come alive, making it scary. Then it talks a little bit here about actual scenarios, so survival mode scenarios, and then Chapter 8's Atlantis. So all of this is sort of new. It's not in the starter set, and there's loads of really good stuff here. Oh, there's a key. Let's quickly flip past that. And yeah, we've also got an adventure here, so the Golden Ambulance. So let's not linger here too long. And then this is a great big stash of random tables here in the appendix, which will, you know, generate lots of cool ideas for your campaign, including some non-player characters here, scavenging to go and get bits and pieces, loads of stuff in here, and then a bit of solo play, which is sort of reminiscent of some of the bits they brought out for their other games and the One Ring, etc. So if you don't have a group to play with, you can actually play this solo, and good luck with that. Solo in the Swarm, for example. Not so usefully, some, you know, bits that you'd want to print out, and then an index. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So about 200 pages, and then you get another copy of the map at the back. So this book, as I say, this particular version, the limited edition, absolutely lovely, really good production quality. The feel and the look of it, sort of in hand, absolutely amazing. However, the actual contents, as far as I can tell, absolutely 99.9% identical to the retail box, so you're not really gaining anything by having missed out on this limited edition version beyond this sexy cover. Do you need this instead of the starter set? Well, I think if you want to do campaign play, yes, you're going to want this book, not the starter set. If all you want to do is run pre-generated scenarios, you might get away with starter sets, but then you're pretty much tied to the characters that exist either in the scenario or the starter set. You're going to want this to create your own unique characters or to customize the archetypes. and I think this is going to be a pretty good seller. Now, one of the problems it does have is it's a zombie trope, and a lot of people are a little bit bored of zombies. Zombies were really big. Some people are over that. But if you want to do that sort of post-apocalypse gameplay, I think this is a really good set of rules for that. And if you don't like zombies, you could ditch them and, like, you know, use this to run Twilight 2000, for example, which is what I'm considering doing, because yeah, Twilight 2000's maybe a little bit too close to home in the current reality we're living in. You know, what about Vaesen? You know, what about Forbidden Lands? They're all really good rule sets, and they are using the Mutant Year Zero game engine as is this. But I think this is one of the better implementations. I would say Mutant Year Zero, the original game, Alien, and this are the top 3 games that Free League are doing right now. However, having said that, that's just purely from limited experience of reading this. I haven't really got to play this in serious anger yet. I got a game lined up for the new year because it's quite busy on the run up to Christmas, so that's probably the first time I'm going to be able to herd together a load of survivors and get them to go out and face the walkers. But from what I'm reading and my experience running, playing and reading all the other games by Free League, this is definitely up there. It's got all the bits I like from the various other games distilled into this one game. It's using just D6, which is great. It does, though, suffer from the standard problems of Mutant Year Zero, where you're needing to roll that 6, which even with 10 D6 you can still fail to roll a single 6. It's quite brutal. You can get stressed, you can get bitten by a walker, you can get injured, and you know, the stress, the walkers and getting injured, all of those can end your PC's life pretty quickly. So this could be a really savage game where it could be for some people unfun, that they get invested, they spend 2-3 hours playing the game, they're loving it, and then bang, their character falls over, hits themselves on a sharp object, gets an infection and dies. But as you can see, it's a nice thin book, nice high quality product. I think it's definitely worthwhile if you're into Free League and Mutant Year Zero, picking this one up. If you hate Free League's Mutant Year Zero and you hate zombies, well, yeah, don't bother with it, pass it by. But I think, you know, this is going to be one of my go-to versions of Mutant Year Zero, along with the original version, and I could see me hacking this in, as I said in the starter set coverage. I could really see myself using this in pretty much any genre which is adjacent to this sort of survival horror post-apocalyptic sort of setting. So there you go. That's it for this year, probably covering The Walking Dead. So expect more in 2024, particularly after I've had a go at the starter set scenario, and I'm really looking forward to getting this to the table. So enough waffling. Until the next video, happy gaming.